Welcome to When Women Preach. This podcast exists to empower AAPI and Latino women faith leaders. My name is Cris Otonari. We're also here with our co-founder and CEO of Isaac, young Lee Hertig. Our guest for this episode is Florence Lee. Florence is a dedicated chaplain and leader with extensive experience in ministry, advocacy, and community engagement. Currently a per diem chaplain at Thomas Jefferson University Hospital, she provides spiritual care and emotional support in a level 1 trauma center. Previously, Florence served as national coordinator for Asian ministries with the American Baptist Home Mission Service Societies, aiding over 250 churches and leading efforts in refugee resettlement, leadership development, and diversity advocacy. She also served as the chair of Isaac's board until very recently, and has served as a pastoral lab facilitator. She has worked tirelessly to strengthen Asian church ministries by providing resources to pastors of Asian churches. Florence graduated from Hunter College with an MSW in administration, an MDiv from American Baptist Seminary of the West, and a BA degree in social work from Ottawa University. Florence, welcome to When Women Preach. We're so excited to have you on this episode. Thank you for taking time to be with us today, and I really look forward to hearing your wisdom and insight and learning from you.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
It's a long overdue, and I'm going to insert one more introduction. If one were to summarize who Florence is, she's a mother hen. She nurtures so many Asian American women faith leaders. She shows up, she drives them. She literally also raises chicken in her backyard.
Ooh, I want some egg.
It comes handy when eggs price is so high
Yes.
right now.
Yes. Oh my God. And you can't even find them sometimes.
No, they're not
It is.
there.
Yeah.
Funny. A mother hen who raises chickens and has eggs.
Well, those are for two purposes. Yeah, one is enjoyment. Second, most of all, is self-care. I really believe that any woman leaders that really need some self-care time, and so I just thought that this raising and chicken, not too many, only 3, is a way for me to take care of my soul. To calm myself at the end of the day or beginning of the day. Even cleaning the dirt in the coop is a part of that cleansing process, I would say. Yeah, so I enjoy it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, today we're going to dive into our pastoral lab cohorts and kind of tap into your brain and your experiences with that. I'm sure Young will give a little promotion for Pastoral Lab at the end, but you served as a Pastoral Lab cohort facilitator. I'm currently serving as one, just starting my 2nd year. So I'm looking forward to your wisdom. And since we are both facilitators, we know that the women who come to these cohorts come from very diverse backgrounds and experiences. So I'm wondering if you can share with us how you prepare the curriculum and how you prepare to lead these sessions in a way that feels both meaningful and inclusive.
Well, I'm honored to be a facilitator, and I look forward to it. And I have worked with Isaac and, of course, with Young for a number of years. Know her style and know her gift and talents and ability, all of the above. And her design for this curriculum is a state of the art, one of the kind, to lift up Asian women, from all walks of life, and regardless they are immigrant generation or to 4th and 5th generation. This is I would call it one size fits all. And so she tailor to everybody's ethnicity and background, and basically because of her experience and her working with different Asian women. The thing is, the curriculum design that she has for this Isaac pastoral lab, as I see it, is wonderful. It's very uplifting. It's very, I would call it soul hanging, lifting when the women are trying to find the niche or the space where they belong, or if they had to find it where they can find a partner, a peer, the same voice, the voice that are similar to theirs. And this curriculum fits in all. The design is not 1 year, a one shot deal. It takes 2 years. So that means it takes persistency, it takes patience, and takes discipline, but most of all takes commitment. And so, and not only the cohort will commit, the facilitators also commit to it. So I'm glad that this curriculum design, is really geared towards young and old, different backgrounds and ages, come into together, to have mutual learning. And so I will say that this curriculum is a core learning, a core focus learning in life, in ministry, as well in partnership. So, and so I look forward to it, to have this core learning cohort, that everyone will have not only have a mutual learning, but collectively they lift each other up, through a lot of transformational experience and storytelling, so on and so forth.
That's great. Sometimes Asian American women are really good at yielding to other people. And sometimes that means when we're having discussions that some voices are amplified over others. So I'm wondering how you navigate that dynamic. How do you make sure that all voices are heard, especially the quieter ones?
Yeah, it's funny when I hear this. I'm strictly thinking when two or three get together, the spirit is there. So the spirit is not going to um, isolate, certain person and overlook the other person. The spirit is all around and filled it in with the group. So the same thing, people they tend to be quiet. Doesn't mean they're not thinking. They're discerning. They're discerning. So I'm committed and sensitive to the people are vocal or silent. But if they tend to be silent at all times, that means they're waiting for somebody to call them out to speak. That, and sometimes the other women are more vocal, but yet there will be some mutual accountability. So I would just, my way to approaching the people is, there's no right and wrong. you know um uh, if everybody put themselves up into the big circle, into the team, this is the circle of learning, they will hear each other. So by listening and be present and also be constructive to one another, supporting one another, and no intimidation, I would say, because some people maybe have more experience than the other, but that doesn't mean, the quiet one had no experience. So we cannot discount, I cannot discount the quiet one. So if I do see a quiet one, yes, that I will invite that person, that cohort to speak, or even have the peer cohort, encourage them. And one of the methods I learned from Eric Law is a mutual invitation. So I invite you, Chris, to speak. Chris, now you invite somebody else. So hopefully going around, then they will eventually everybody have a voice, you know, at the table.
Um, I was, I'm glad you said the word invite and then invitation, because when you first said, I invite you, I felt like that was a very hospitable word to use instead of like, I'm calling on this person. You're inviting people, and sometimes quieter ones, myself included, we're quiet because we're processing internally and don't don't really have the words to say or haven't sifted through our thoughts yet. And when I hear you use like language like invite or invitation, it sounds like you're creating a safe space for people to have that space to be able to process and then be invited into the conversation when they're ready. So I really like that. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I firmly believe every uh, woman in the group, in each cohort group, they already come with a very rich story in their life. You know, it just come into the right place or the right time to meet the right group of people or to meet the right people to share their story. So everyone have a story to tell. But
Mhm.
how are we going to relate that story with the learning in that curriculum, you know? So the academic side, but then also the experiential side of it. So we have to put like a marriage, put them together to become
Right.
real. Yeah.
Yeah. Youngston talks about a two-step hermeneutical approach, so that we, start with the text and then go to our application. So it sounds like that's been kind of an effective thing in kind of drawing out the stories of the women in your cohort as it relates to the material too.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think of coming from my chaplaincy experience now, there are two ways we're looking at, and I will apply that into the facilitation process. It's an action reflection. Action reflection. The action is how we hear from each other and how we really, continue to learn and support. And implement what we learn. Reflection is a step back and discern and feedback, reflect what our path has been and reflect on what we can do now and in the future. And so I would, think it in the back of my head, the action reflection, bringing the
Mhm.
story to the forefront, and yet with the
Mm.
academic in the back, to back up, this is not a hearsay thing. There is a proof, there's a research, there is people writing the article, there are people, theologians, practitioners, and leaders. They had gone through that life story, through that they're writing it. And so what we can digest, learn, and reflecting on it and put it out in an action, so go into that cycle and hopefully, that cycle becomes a transformational space
Mm.
process for
Mhm.
everybody to take a piece. Some people take longer time for their transformation, and some people take, you know, um, need to process more or shorter. So every individual is very unique, and we cannot say that we are on the same space and same. Sometimes it's not on the same space, but we need to give space. But when we
Mhm.
give space to people, things happen, and that
Mhm.
transformation will bubble up inside the spirituality of women.
You American Baptists have conference called the Space of Grace. I like that. that space you allow is to extend grace to one another. Action reflection is called praxis, an academic term. I recently have been pondering more about how to transform knowledge also into skill sets.
Mm.
I think that tangible skill sets sometimes are lacking due to glass ceiling and bamboo ceiling. And today, there's a lot of anti-institutional sentiment, but I see the difference between those who hung in there and serve within the institution and those who don't have much of institutional background. There's a stark differences in terms of protocol and knowing your own lane and how not to tread upon others. So these are some of the tangible professional ethics and manner that some do not know when they don't have that background.
Mhm.
And you come with almost 2 decades of denominational, leadership, national coordinator role that you played. So we are delighted to have you fully on board in 2025. And for this purpose, Florence stepped out of serving Isaac board. We don't want any appearance of conflict of interest. So, we'll miss you at the board meeting, but you'll be serving as a facilitator, which you have been doing for most of your life.
I'm so impressed. I don't know if I can fulfill that task. All I can say is I'm one of the minimal, facilitator, do what I can, and I love
Let's,
to share, my life with other people. And Young, just little feedback to a space for grace, you know, and I'm glad that from my previous ministry, this space for grace becomes such a important, topic or theme or spirituality. Let me put it that way, right out there. A space for grace is a spiritual discipline, but it's also a spirituality growth for each person. The knowledge is a power, you know, and how are we going to use this power? It take a lot of spiritual discipline and development, so and I think that for women, we want to empower each other, not only through our life and our ministry, but also through knowledge, you know. So when we know what we have written out and what we have lived through, and those are the living documents,
Mhm.
for us to go forward. And nobody can take it out because it's in a printed document. So we call it the living documents that we base on. And nobody lie on that, And so, and I think that combined with each person's ethnic background, So we all come from a different cultures, identity, generations, and so when people, we the big word we all learn is respect each other, you know. So and
Mhm.
respect and appreciate each other's culture, identity. Those are the values. Once we put that value into it, so that knowledge and power and becomes a measurable transformational experience for life, and just 2 years going through this cohort curriculum and team building and professional growth, but the impact of it we have to take longer than 2 years to see it. So we're building foundation.
Yeah, I think graduates express desire to continue relationship that they built in the cohort over 2 years. So I just want to jump ahead and make an announcement that we are formalizing Pastoral Lab Alumni Network. So the council members are selected and a lot more to come for ongoing advancement of leadership and leadership skill sets. One more quality, charming qualities that I want to brag about Florence is when you least expect, she throw out these funny lines. I think one of the rare qualities of Asian American, if I may dare to generalize, is a sense of humor really is important.
Mm.
And you cracking jokes, that's just a one-liner. I find that to be hilarious, but I don't experience that often because mostly we've been working virtually.
But I think that life is hard, life is tough. As we know that Asian women leaders and minister, we often say that we have to do double duty, double work to prove how, if not double, sometimes triple or even quadruple, to break the glass ceiling or the bamboo top. But I think that I learned how to, do some humor to lighten everybody's soul. So maybe we can put all this joke together and, chicken soup for the joke. Uh,
That's such an amazing quality that Asian American women faith leaders and Asian Americans in general, we are worker bees many times. And I think lightening up a little bit and not taking ourselves overly seriously, I think humor plays big part in that.
I think humor and the ability to laugh together
Yeah.
connects us with each
Mm-hmm.
other.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Clark, you've used the word transform or transformation a few times, and that was in relation to the syllabus, the curriculum, this the grace that you speak of, action, reflection. Is there anything else that you would point to as something that makes Pastoral Lab a transformative space? Like we have to maintain confidentiality of specific stories, but are there things that you witnessed in the women like shift in them in the walk over 2 years together
Mm-hmm.
that is kind of generally you can share without giving up anyone's specific story or identity?
Well, this Northeast Southeast cohort group, I will meet with them the end of January. Well, actually,
Oh,
no. Before that, in 2 weeks, we will have in-person retreat, and I really look forward to meet Felicia. She's the one that I'm working now um, to make this retreat become a reality. Felicia has shared with me on the way to Columbia Theological Seminary on the train. Confidentiality, but I think she has shared it with her church group. So, and she has shared in our circle. Um, and she really wanted a child. So she married for 7 years and she had not, conceived a child. And, but this cohort group, Northeast, Southeast, everyone pray for her, everyone that, give her such a big hope, you know,
Mm-hmm.
a pack in the back, and, Felicia, go for it, you will be a good mother,
Mm-hmm.
and it was so joyful to hear last year that I'm expecting. So So everyone is expecting to see her. So, and I
Oh,
would call that,
Miracle,
a
miracle.
miracle. But as you see, a woman to be pregnant to give birth, it takes 9 months, right? That's a process. That process, we call it transformation from one end to the other end. What's God had in store in us in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, like the seed, we don't know, like
Mm-hmm.
her
mm,
fetus, we don't know. And then she really take good care of her health, rest,
Mm-hmm.
say no when she need to say no, and welcome people when she can. So that is a process, and I would call it theologically leap of faith. You know, how are we going to get from here to there? When you get from here to there, it's a transforming, and it takes a process, and that process is called the leap of faith from our theological understanding of that. And that applied not only to the women, but it applied to everyone, in a different context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's a
But
great story. Thank you for
yeah,
sharing that.
yeah, but Chris, I think that as a woman and a woman leader, I think the word transformation is heavy lifting, and we know that what it means by transformation culturally, sexually, as well as, mentally. So it's a lot of things in there.
And the piece that um, I heard in that story is that she wasn't doing it alone because her fellow cohort members were lifting her up in prayer and
Mm-hmm.
encouraging her. And I think that's the beauty that leads to the transformation is we're not doing it alone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that whole imagery of pregnancy, it fit
Mm.
right into our women context, you
Yes,
know, in
right.
regardless that you are you have been pregnant or had not been pregnant, but even that you're a daughter, so your mom's mom, have had that pregnancy process. But I'm taking the imagery of the pregnancy, that 9 months, from the beginning to the end to giving
Mm.
birth, that maturity,
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
and that sums up to our pastoral lab, when we started with Lily Grant, the inception of that. We don't know how it turned out, but
Mm-hmm.
through that process with, 6 different cohort group that we grow and we build, and here now that transformation, and we don't know the impact. We expecting this pregnancy will burst out in joy, and I really believe that this pastoral lab, yeah, it takes 2 years, longer than 9 months. It takes 2 years, but the impact is for life.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So
Any last thoughts, words of encouragement, young Florence?
Florence, the relationship in Asian culture, once you are a friend, you are friend for the rest of your life. And I would like to thank City Seminary for investing on our alumni network, formalizing that with their seed grant. And I'm hoping to gather both current participants retreat sometime in June and then alumni, you know, retreat in August. So this year, we'll plan for that in-person retreat. I think last year we didn't have it, and I see some deficiency in
Mm.
terms of cohort bonding and being on the same page. What this pastoral lab cohort does and what trust building it takes. So, not having had the retreat, I realized that there's something missing. So, we'll plan and we'll have those retreats.
That's
I
wonderful.
definitely made lasting connections from the
Yeah,
retreat.
yeah, yeah. At the end of the day, we're people, we're people have feeling, touching, feeling, sensing, and all that. So nobody can take that away from us to embrace each other, you know, in real time, you know.
Florence, you and I, we have done some preliminary retreat with ecumenical North American women retreat. I think we've done 3. Now that those seeds activities we've done together now gave birth to Pastoral Lab. And it's a lab where women faith leaders learn to trust one another and get out of their comfort zone and maybe decolonize some of the values from the West and just be vulnerable to one another. I think when you are vulnerable, you gain a lot more. And vulnerability comes with confidence. Vulnerability is not weakness. People who are insecure cannot be vulnerable. So I encourage listeners out there to just experience what it's like to share from heart to heart. There's no privacy in America. So let's not be delusional, believing that there is such a thing as privacy. So I'm very countercultural in that way. And whether you failed from trusting somebody, don't ever give up trusting yourself and trusting one another. Because at the end of the day, when you do that, the richness it brings to the cohort is not something you can imagine. So I thank you, Florence, for all your experiences you are bringing, your advocacy. She goes to White House and DC for advocating refugees and Burmese. So your tireless work for uplifting other people, and we benefit from your legacy and your background, and we thank you for that.
Well,
Thank you, Florence. It was wonderful to
yeah.
have you.
Well, it was an honor to be in this circle. Let me say that.
Yes.
It's not
Thank
just
you.
one side. It has to be mutually beneficial.
Right.
So thank you so much.
Blessings on your ministries.
My name is Joana. I am the sound producer for our podcast, When Women Preach. Thank you to all of our listeners who support us from wherever you are. We believe that the voices of Asian American and Latina women of faith are crucial to the building up of our faith communities and Isaac's mission to advance equity at the pulpit. So we invite you to continue supporting us by inviting your friends and family to listen to our podcast or by making a donation to www.isaacsweb.org. Thank you in advance for making this work possible.